Good afternoon, this is Mark from Cedar Creek Bottoms, Farmstead Life with another fireside chat. Hope everyone's doing okay today. We're right here at Labor Day weekend, and hope everybody has a good, safe weekend and enjoys themselves. I got to work a little shutdown this weekend, so I'm going to end up having to work Friday night and Sunday night. But hey, that's a little more money in my pocket down the road. Hadn't been able to get back up to the hunting club. Trying to finish up, finally finished up my last set of watermelons, getting them out of the field. Watermelons done real good this year. I think 5 pickup truck loads out of that field. Done a lot better than I thought it was going to do. So we're slowing down the growing, so we're fixing to get, I still got corn and grain sorghum to get out of the field. And try to get some turnip greens and collards, mustard, some cabbage, stuff like that planted maybe next week. So me and Rebecca try to do a video on that, because we're going to talk about some of the crops that you need to plant for winter time that you could use off of. Of course, we'll have our sweet potatoes we'll need to harvest here probably next month. And we still got to talk about some of the crops that you could grow that might help sustain you in hard times. And like I said before, I'm going to go more in a history aspect with some of it than just what it produces or whatever. Well, I'm down here kind of in the corner of the field. Of course, you see Sister in the background. Back in March, when we were having our little Alabama Paranormal Bigfoot meeting here at the house, before we all went down to Hollins that night, Jonathan said he seen something in this tree behind us. This is a blown down tree down here in the corner of my field that I got to get sawed up and moved. So that's one reason I'm down here filming right here. It was about this time of day when he said he seen something pop its head up down here and look at us. It was all sitting up there by my campfire pit talking. So that's why I'm filming right here. So just keep your eyes out. I'm gonna try to stand to the side here, and never know. Like I told you in the last video, about is Bigfoot a teddy bear. I hope everybody understood kind of what I was going at on that. Also, me and Rebecca made it up to Cheehaw Mountain to listen to Coombo give his presentation, and then Big Dog was there. I can't remember the rest of their YouTube page, but it's Big Dog 2D something of that nature. I'm sorry, I should have had that correct. So y'all go check them out. Glad that Miss Pat and Mr. Joe was able to make it up. They surprised me Saturday when they walked up. Glad to see them, and glad they got to meet Coombo and the guys from Big Dog. I think his name's Jack, and the other one's Nathan. I think they call him Nate. So they all done a good presentation. Enjoyed it very good. Especially got to enjoy meeting Pat and Joe and sitting talking with them. Look forward to seeing them here in about a month again. Of course, we got the Alabama Paranormal and Bigfoot outing coming up down in Hollins, Alabama, at the Hollins Hunters Camp. That is in the Talladega National Forest. that is 12 miles from Sylacauga. It is primitive camping. No water, no electricity. It's basically just a hunter's camp. I'm surprised the Forest Service even bush hogs it. So y'all keep that in mind. There are some motels in Sylacauga. Don't know their ratings. You'd have to go look at that. And there are restaurants in Sylacauga. So y'all keep all that in mind. If you don't want to camp, you know, it is in a wildlife management area, so remember about your guns. They can write tickets for certain guns, so typically you can have a self-defense gun with you. In other words, you know, pistol or something of that nature. I know Jonathan's probably going to put out something in the next couple of weeks on it, and I know talking about having a potluck supper on Saturday night, I think what he said. So I need to call and get with him, because I know some people's asking some questions, and some people Flat Rock asked what he could help do, and so I need to get Jonathan, hold of Jonathan, and see what he says. And, like I said, I hadn't made it back up to the club. Hopefully to get up there this weekend, probably Saturday. I am off Saturday night, so hopefully I can get up there Saturday and go ahead and get my video done for next week up there. Plus I need to check on the watermelon, the rocks, cucumbers, just see if anything's moved. Marsha's doing a lot better, so I did talk to Keith, and he said she was whenever I got ready. So I'm hoping maybe next weekend, that'd be September 10th. Hopefully, maybe her and Keith can meet me up on the club, and we'll go to the exact spot where she had her sighting. And of course, that'd be, you know, the Friday when it comes out. So I told Rebecca, when me and her both talked about, I got to do a little better about getting a little ahead on my videos. It's just kind of tough to do when you work for a living and farm, and of course, you know, when winter time gets here, maybe that'll get a little easier for us to do. But I hope everyone did understand about the teddy bear, what I was kind of getting at. Not saying there's nothing wrong with, you know, the state park system doing that. I mean, I think it's great. I told one of the young ladies up there that run it the other day, they ought to just put on a Bigfoot out in there at Chi Hall. She didn't really say much back, so I don't know. I think they would have a lot of people show up. I know both campgrounds are pretty much full that weekend. A lot of kids showed up. So it turned out pretty good. I think they got to do some little better organizing. I think they need to do a little better job of that. But hey, they learning and going, you know. Nobody, I can't say I could do any better, but anyway. Also, remember, Chris Reinhardt is going to have surgery this coming up week, so y'all remember him from Discovering Sasquatch. And y'all, maybe say a prayer for Chris, and also, go check his channel out. Go check out the guys over at Beast TV. Mark and Larry, Spencer. Like I said, I ain't met the other ones yet, so y'all go check them out. So anyway, what we're going to talk about today is talking about Bigfoot in urban areas. Somebody brought that up the other day up at Chi Hall. And I do have worked several cases, 3 of them in fact, and well, 4 really, that one was inside the city limits of Sylacauga in a drainage ditch that runs right through the middle of town. At the time of the sighting was back in 1978. The guy at the time was 17 years old. He was working at McDonald's. McDonald's just had come to Sylacauga in 1978, and he got a job there. It was a Saturday night. Typically he got off about 10 o'clock on Saturday nights, but that night his manager asked him would he stay over and work later because they had been very busy that night at McDonald's. And back in 1978 through the 80s and early 90s, all the kids in the area, and that included Childersburg and Coosa County and Clay County, all come up there and done their cruising. I done it too when I was in the 80s. And of course, McDonald's being one of the first fast food places besides Jack's and Dairy Queen, the place got a lot of business. And and they typically closed at midnight, so his boss asked him would he stay over that night. He agreed, and he called his mom, let her know, because she usually come picked him up at 10, and he just told his mom, because he lived in downtown Sylacauga, he said, I'll just walk home when I get off at 12. And of course, there's still some traffic going on in Sylacauga that time of night because of the people cruising. So he gets off at midnight, and I will go later down the road and film exactly where this took place, and show you what kind of drainage ditch it is. It's a little creek. It starts kind of on the south side of Sylacauga. It runs north actually a little bit. It comes up under the hospital, goes through residential, and then it comes to what we call Fort Williams Street. Goes right up under a shopping center. It comes out on the back side in a little wooded area, and stays kind of wooded. Not real wooded, I mean it's houses along it, and then it gets on the outskirts of Sylacauga and gets real wooded again. So this night, this guy was walking from McDonald's down to where this little creek comes through Sylacauga at. It's probably half a mile. He gets down real close to it. There's a service station. It used to be a TCR. I don't think none of them exist no more. And it was still open. I think it was one of those, stayed open about midnight. Most stuff around here used to stay open about midnight, some of the service stations, restaurants. So it was still about midnight, and so then people were still there. Of course, there's still a little traffic on Fort Williams. As he neared where the creek is, they have like a set of handrails that the city of Sylacauga put up there. I guess, keep anybody from falling off, stuff like that. Well, he noticed as he got probably within 100 feet of it, he could hear rocks. Just like somebody was taking a rock, picking it up, throwing it, hitting other rocks. He knew that was strange. Now, right on the other side of the creek from the service station was Jack's. And Jack's is a little fast food restaurant in Alabama. And at the time, Jack's was there, and they had done closed. As he got closer, he could keep hearing the rocks. So as he gets up there, he's not thinking of nothing about no Bigfoot, and he never heard nothing hard about no Bigfoot. I asked him, had he ever, he said, no, not really. He said, I never had watched anything like that on the TV and never really thought about it, But as he gets to the bridge, he just walks up and happens to look over. Well, when he does, he gets the shock of his life. He says that standing in the creek is this big old hairy thing, kind of brown color because we got street lights shining down in there. And he said this thing looks straight up at him. Well, of course, he about has a heart attack. He takes off. He starts running, and he's scared the devil out of him. And as he's running, he turns back to look and see if it's following, and it's not. So he runs all the way home. Runs in the house. Of course, he's out of breath. His mama, daddy's still up, and asked him why he's out of breath. He said, well, I run halfway home because I seen something down there in the creek by Jack's. And they said, do what? His daddy said, what did you see? He said, I seen this big hairy thing standing on two legs, and it looked right up at me. So he did, so we jump in the car, we go down there and look. So he was kind of hesitant to go, but he went on. So they jumped in the car, went on down. Of course, his dad parked across the road over there in the shopping center side. Gets out, walks across the street, looks down in there and ain't nothing there. And of course, he calls his boy over there, and they come over and look. And he said you could see down in the creek from the light shining from the street lights and stuff where something had been flipping the rocks. So I'm figuring that the booger was down in there flipping rocks, probably trying to catch crawfish, what I figure, or frogs, or maybe a snake or something. I figure when the boy seen him and he seen the boy, he probably shot up under the shopping center, because that creek, like I said, goes all the way up under it. At the time, there was a grocery store in that place. There was Bargain Town, the theater was there, and of course back then the department store was called Grant's. It was kind of like a Walmart, but it was called Grant's. I think later on, a few years later, Walmart bought Grant's out and put their store in there. There was a record place, because back then records, were popular. So that's what was in that place. So that was a very busy place during the daytime, and at night. So anyway, it shook him up. It shook him up big time. When I was talking to him about it, I asked him, I said, well, you remember its face? And he did tell me that it had a human-looking face. He said the nose was kind of flat, and he did notice it didn't hardly have a neck. I asked him how tall he thought it was. He told me that this thing's head was probably 2 foot from being even with the bank of the top of the bank of the creek. So I went down there and done a measurement later on. From the creek up to the top was 10 foot, so I'm figuring this booger was 8 foot tall. He said he was kind of wasn't a dark color, he was more of a light brown. And he said the hair on it, looked long looking. He said looked like it was shining a little bit. So, there was a good. That's a good sighting. Even though it didn't last but a few seconds, it was enough for him to look and get a good look at it. He's now a pretty known person in Sylacauga. Of course, he don't want me to use his name. But he's pretty well known in Sylacauga, businessman. I asked him, after he done that, did he start trying to, look into it? And he said no. Of course, back then there probably wasn't much on it. Books is about all you could probably find. He said he didn't try to go look it up. Now he said, here in the last few years, when some of the shows come out, he watched, and he said some of what people described was the same thing he saw. That's pretty good. I mean, at the time, I don't know what the population of Sylacauga was in 1978. I really don't know. It's probably in the 10, 11,000 range. And then you had all this county surrounding area that patriotised Sylacauga. I mean, Clay County, Northern Coosa County, parts of rural Talladega County. So Sylacauga kind of gets hit a lot, from people, shopping and all that stuff, because it is one of the bigger towns. You got Talladega 20 miles to the north. When you get into Coosa County, their little towns are just small. There's nothing there no more. So most of those people in that county have to come to Sylacauga or go to Elliott City or go down toward Wetumpka. Clay County, same way. It's a small county. So a lot of their people have to come over towards Sylacauga. And then, you know, the rural areas of Sylacauga. And then you have the town of Chillersburg. It's just 7 miles from Sylacauga. That has a few things, but a lot of those folks have to come to Sylacauga to do their shopping too. So it's a congregated place. Also, Highway 280 goes through it, so there's a lot of traffic going from Birmingham to Auburn, Alabama, and to Columbus because of Fort Benning. A lot of military used to travel a lot. So, you know, it's a busy area, One reason the military is because they would come up 280 and then get on Highway 21 at Sylacauga to go up to Anniston to Fort McClellan and the Army Ammunition Depot, and where they repaired the tanks and cannons and stuff. But so that, you know, it was talking about urban, and then of course me and, you know, went up and worked a case in Birmingham, and Mr. Mike Mullane was the one that sent me an email and said a lady lived in over around what they call Liberty Park. Liberty Park is still wooded a good bit, but there's a lot of subdivisions in there. The Cahaba River comes through that area, and the Cahaba River's had a lot of sightings on it in different places. Back up the river towards St. Clair County, there's been a lot of sightings. On the south end of it, been a lot of sightings. But this lady, anyway, had sent Mr. Mike an email, so he sent me an email, gave me the lady's number, so I called and talked to her. Asked her what she was having going on. She said, well, I seen one of the things. I said, okay. So I asked her when would be a good time to come up there. She said, mostly on the weekend. So I rode up there on Saturday evening late. Got up there probably, and this was in the summer, so it was probably about 7 o'clock at night, because she said you could hear them down there toward the river right after dark at night. So get up there, and I get her, you know, she tells me her encounter. It happened early one morning, just after daylight. She had, her husband had done left for work, and she liked to go out on her back porch and drink her coffee and let her dogs out, and she drank her coffee. Said, you know, she said, you know, it's good daylight, you could see. So as she opens up her door to go onto her patio, she sees something move out toward the back of her yard, and she has a garden of flowers and all that, kind of got it set up real nice. They had a swimming pool, so, but she seen something dark move, and at first her mind said bear. Now this lady had a 6-foot fence in her backyard, privacy fence. She says that, you know, she couldn't see real good because of her flowers, because whatever it was in behind, kind of in behind them, and it had went down, you know, like on all fours, and that's why she thought it was a bear. So she come on out on the porch and was watching, and had her 2 dogs with her, and she said, you know, she had one of these little door dogs where they couldn't just run on out in the yard. She'd have to open it up to let them on off the patio or the deck. And she said they were kind of whining and acting funny, you know. She said, well, you know, because the bear there. And she said about that time, this thing stood back up, looked right at her, and said she was looking right at it, and said it just stared at her for a minute, and said it just walked over there, grabbed a hold of the top of that fence and just leaped over it. She said just like a gymnastic would do, you know, somebody that's working the bars or whatever, you know, grab and just pull herself right up and go right over. Of course, she noticed that right off the bat it wasn't a bear. She said, you know, had a human looking face. It was a dark brown, almost blackish color. She said that it just went over that privacy fence like it wasn't nothing. It just, you know, pulled itself right up, went right over. She seen the legs, the arms. She said its hair was kind of probably, you know, maybe 4 or 5 inches long on it, and it kind of shiny looking. Then, of course, you know, it terrified her. She called her husband. He come home from work and walked down there, and they did find what kind of looked like footprints. They were about 11 inches long. When I got talking to her, I asked her what she estimated the height to be. She said probably in the 5 to 6 foot range. So I went down there to about where it was standing, had her stand on the porch, and she said it was a little bit shorter than me. So more likely a juvenile. I don't know what it was doing. I kind of looked around. I don't know if she had a lot of flowers blooming, so I'm wondering if it may have been eating flower blooms or something, but you know, she didn't look at her flowers to see. But that's when she told me that they had been hearing stuff at night come from down there at the river. So they had a little gate that you could open and get into them woods behind their house. So I went down, opened the gate, and boy, it's on a bluff there. So I didn't go down it far. It's real rocky. I mean, it's almost straight down to the river. So I didn't really try to go too far. Kind of looked around on the backside. Didn't really see nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, I stepped maybe down 10, 15 foot down the cliff a little bit, looked around. You could see the river pretty good. You know, kind of looked back and forth. Didn't really see nothing. So I come on back in. We're getting right at dark. She said, a lot of times, she said, what we do, she said, we'll sit out here on the patio, and she said, it'll get to hollering right at dark. And I said, what do you mean hollering? And she said, well, it'll be the whoop, whoop. And I said, oh, it's doing whoops. She said, yeah. So I stayed there till a little after dark, sitting with them on their patio. And probably 30 minutes after dark, there was 2 whoops come from down in there. And probably about a minute later, a wood knock. So I told the ma'am, I said, well, you definitely sound like a Bigfoot. And I said, you know, what you saw and described. So I told her, I said, you know, they're probably traveling back and forth up and down this river here. And when I pulled up, you know, Google Maps and looked at the area, there's a big chunk of woods on the other side of the river that went back in a lot of just timberland. Since then, a lot of that's been built up in subdivisions. I think the city of Hoover built a big sports complex over there. 'Cause my boy ended up playing some football over there, Little League football. And a lot of that has built up in there. There's still a lot of woods. If you go look at it, still big chunks of woods. And them boogers is probably still there. A couple of different times I've checked in with a lady. Back then I did. I hadn't talked to her probably in 5 or 6 years now. They really wasn't having no problems. She did tell me some of the other neighbors had heard the whoops and the tree knocks and was asking. She told them Bigfoot. But she never did really see anything around their house anymore. Probably did come back in. You know, I didn't really know what to tell her. I said, well, if they ain't bothering nothing, I mean, ain't much you can do about it. Really, she didn't seem too concerned about it. I mean, she was interested, but, you know, like she told me, she said, well, as long as they ain't bothering nothing, they ain't gonna bother them, you know. And I said, well, they probably not going to bother you. I said, I don't know why that was in your yard early that morning. You know, I don't know why he was there and what he was doing, you know. But I told her, I said, you know, if you go out in the yard at night, just be, you know, carry a flashlight with you or make a lot of noise when you first come out. And, you know, I said, if you do start having trouble or neighbors, you know, let me know. And I said, I might can find somebody to, you know, give you that answer. And when I talked to Mr. Tall about it, he like he said them things had probably been there the whole time, and he said they probably pilfer around in there at night some, probably, you know, getting in garbage cans and stuff. I asked a woman had her garbage can ever been fooled with. She said, well, not as I know of, and any of the neighbors, and she said, no. not as I know of. So he said it's probably just being nosy that morning. He said it may have been after something in there, may have been a squirrel or something, or like he said, it may have been eating flower petals, you know. So I told the woman to keep an eye on her flowers to see if she started seeing a bunch of her flowers disappearing. Because, you know, deer do that too. But I don't think deer could get in her yard the way it was built. Because they had a privacy fence about 6 foot tall all the way around the backyard, come up beside the house, then they had a gate up beside the house. So, you know, you pretty much have to open the gate and get in there, and most animals would. You know, most animals ain't going to open the gate. So, you know, this booger was probably able to just reach up there and grab and come right on over, you know. I know the last time I did talk to her, she still was hearing whoops every now and then. Every now and then the wood knocks. I asked her, did they ever hear any howls or screams? And she said, no, never heard none of that. And I'm figuring the boogers probably didn't do that much there. I asked her, you know, rock clicking. She never did. Said, no, I never heard. She had heard whistles a few times, you know, after dark back down in there. But they thought it was a bird, which it could have been. I mean, you really don't know on that stuff, So there, then at Liberty Park, if y'all want to look at it, go look on Google Maps. It's kind of to the southeast side of Birmingham, off of I-459. Located in the city of Hoover, which Hoover is one of the suburbs of Birmingham. Very wooded area still in there. Cahaba River starts back up in St. Clair County. Runs all the way down through there and on into Shelby County and then Bibb County, and then turns and runs straight south and goes into the Alabama River below Selma, Alabama. So it's a pretty long little river, beautiful river. Got the Cahaba lilies on it, what they call. It's a real pretty flower that grows in the creek. Hatchet Creek in Coosa County has them. A lot of people come there to look at that. They got a couple of places down in Bibb County where you can get down to the river pretty easy and go out and, you know, look at the lilies. A certain time of the year they bloom. They're real beautiful. I think it's the only place in the country world where they're at. Also, since we was talking about urban stuff, I'm gonna go to one other thing. I had somebody make a comment to me or sent me a message. Told me I was wrong about something, and I if I do say something wrong or say something out of the way, please let me know where I can correct it. He said I was wrong, but I actually wasn't. And he wasn't being mean. I think he just didn't understood what I said. Sylacauga is in Talladega County. If you go look at the map of the Appalachian Mountains and look at what the geologists have determined what is the Appalachian Mountains and what they call the foothills, Sylacauga is the southern end of the Appalachians. Not the Appalachian Trail. The trail we have coming in Alabama off the Appalachian Trail is the Pinhoti Trail. And I forgot where it starts at, up North Georgia, but it makes its way through Georgia. I think comes by Cartersville, comes down right below Rome into Cave Springs, then crosses into Alabama by Piedmont, comes on down Duggar Mountain into the Choccolocca Wildlife Management Area, which is the northern part of Talladega National Forest. Comes on down, crosses into Cheehaw, runs across the Cheehaw, then into Pinnacle Mountain, which is part of Cheehaw. It's the same range. Then gets down to Horn Mountain, Rebecca Mountain, which is at Hollins. Then it hits some roads for a little piece because they couldn't get permission to go across some private land, so people had to walk the roads in a few places. Picks back up in the little town of Weguffka, which is in Coosa County, and goes to Flag Mountain. Flag Mountain is the last real mountain in Alabama. It's right at 1,000 feet. It's a state forest. They got some cabins up there. They got old lookout towers made out of rock that the CCC Corps built back in the 1930s. It's really the last mountain in Alabama. It's 20-something miles below Sylacauga. In between it is Diamond Mountain and a couple other little ridges. Rebecca Mountain is the last mountain way over 1,000 feet. I think Rebecca Mountain's in the I think 1900 feet. Of course, the hunting club is part of that, but it does have a small ridge that runs to it that goes right by the north of Sylacauga. But it's 1,400 feet. You get on back up toward Talladega, and they call them the Talladega Mountains, but you got Rebecca, Horn, Pinnacle, Cheehaw, Duggar. I'm trying to think what the other one is. There's another one up in there. And then off of it, you have little chutes that pop up, like Renfro Mountain. We call it Sleeping Giant. You have Shockoe Mountain, Sycamore Mountain, Redelia Mountain. Then on up there around Anniston, you got some mountains up there that pop up here and there. So what happens is when the mountains get down in our area, you have one main ridge that pretty much comes out of Georgia, comes all the way to Sylacauga, and then it kind of goes down a little bit, just gets rolly hills. Then Flag Mountain pops back up, and then out through Talladega County, mountains kind of pop up. There's several of them that stand off to their own. It's just a mountain out in the middle of flat land. I mean, all the way around it's flat, and there's a mountain there. I guess whoever was misunderstood what I said. Yes, I know there's a trail that goes all the way to the Florida Keys. But this is the southern termination of the Appalachian Mountains. If you pull up a map of the Appalachian Mountains, the Geological Survey, of course, it starts back up in Canada. It comes down, comes down through all the states up there. And when it gets into Georgia and Tennessee, it kind of widens out a little bit. You have a couple of main ridges, and when it gets into Alabama, it fans out. Just like it kind of does in Tennessee, it fans out with the Cumberland Mountains. And of course, part of Kentucky. Well, when it gets into Alabama, you have like 4 main ridges. You have one that turns and comes right under the south of the Tennessee River, and it kind of runs all the way over into West Alabama and part of Mississippi. Then you have the one that comes toward Birmingham that we call Sand Mountain. It's a big plateau on it. It's about 30-40 miles wide on top, and it ends right south of Birmingham. It comes through Birmingham. You have Red Mountain, Double Oak, and ends down around what they call Helena. And then you have another ridge that comes in that runs toward the city of Gaston and toward Anniston. Kind of stops right there at Anniston. And then you have the other ridge that is probably part of the Lookout Mountain Range that comes right east of Gaston and down through Piedmont and comes on down on the east side of Anniston, where the little small town of Heflin is, comes on east of Talladega and east of Sylacauga, and then kind of ends. So if you go look at that map, you'll see that all of North Alabama from about Sylacauga over toward Tuscaloosa up is considered Appalachian. It's just a bunch of rolling hills. Deep valleys. I mean, you go to Bankhead National Forest, which is up northwest Alabama, starts a little bit above northwest of Birmingham, and go up through there. It's real beautiful, deep hollers. I don't think they don't have the big ridges that we have over here on the east side. So when I said that, I was correct. We're the southernmost part of the Appalachian. If you go over toward West Alabama into parts of Mississippi that they consider Appalachian, that's the western part of it, where it ends. So we are the southernmost part of the Appalachian Mountains. I could start at Flag Mountain on that trail, walk all the way to Pinhoti, and hit the Appalachian Trail in Georgia and keep on going up. And that's what a lot of people have been doing. Now I've heard that they're talking about taking the Pinhoti and going on into South Alabama with it. maybe going all the way to Mobile. I've heard that thrown around, and I heard that there's a trail that goes from Florida to California along the coast. They talked about trying to meet in with it somewhere. I don't know how they'll do that, but you know, that's something else. River systems. Somebody brought up about river systems in Alabama. And some of these are coming in my messenger. They're not actually in comments, and I'll get to that here in just a minute. Alabama is considered one of the most biodiversity states in the United States. I know that's hard to believe. In fact, it's called North America's Amazon. We've got major river systems coming in from all states. Georgia, we have the Coosa, Tallapoosa, and the Chattahoochee. Well, the Coosa starts off with 3 rivers out of North Georgia. And they meet all that at Rome, Georgia, but one actually comes out of Tennessee, up there toward Tellico Plains, comes all the way down and makes its way to Rome, Georgia. There's another one that kind of comes from toward LJ, Georgia, up in there. And then there's another one that comes from back over in there toward I-75 somewhere, and they all meet right there in Rome, Georgia, and form the Coosa River. Then, of course, Coosa River comes on in Alabama, runs kind of south, meets up in Montgomery and forms the Alabama River with the Tallapoosa River. Tallapoosa River starts in Georgia, up toward the Cedar Town, which is not far from the Coosa. Back up in there, Cartersville. It comes on down, gets in Alabama, comes on down, and then runs into Montgomery too and forms. So the Talladega Mountain Range is in between both those rivers. If you look at the way the mountains come out of Georgia, you can kind of see it curves with it. And then, of course, we got Tennessee that comes in up at the northeast corner, comes down, makes a dip, and goes out the northwest corner over by Florence. A lot of Bigfoot located along that river. I mean, that's where my good friend Coombo lives. The 2 guys I met from Big Dog the other day live up there around Guntersville, I think. And then right below them is real hilly and the Coleman and Jasper, all them areas, real hilly land, Bankhead, full of Bigfoot. Mr. Tall said them areas is full of Bigfoot, just like here it is in Talladega County, in Coosa County. So, I mean, and then of course over on the west side of Alabama, you've got the Tombigbee and the Warrior Rivers. And the Warrior River starts off the Sipsey, Locust Fork, and what's the other one? There's one more. I can't remember the name of it now, but they all form the Black Warrior River above Tuscaloosa, and it empties into the Tombigbee. Of course, Tombigbee empties out of north Mississippi. Of course, they run down and meet each other down what we call the Mobile Delta, which is a big swamp, huge swamp. I think it's second or third biggest delta in the U.S. Lot of swamp land. Big area, full of boogers. That's where Mr. McLean was from, Clark County, where the Tombigbee and Alabama River meet to form the Mobile and the Tensas and all those rivers. Real swampy land. Not many people live in it. They live around it. If you go look at a Google Maps of it, you'll see that big wad of green there. I think a lot of paper companies own a lot of land in there, and then the state owns some land in there, and just big wild country. And one reason they say that about Alabama being one of the most biodiversity states in the Union is because we got some fish that ain't nowhere else in the world. Salamanders, turtles, snails, crawfish. We got a bunch of plants that's nowhere else in the world. And they say that's why. I mean, I think we even got more in California. Also, Mobile, it's one of the wettest places in the U.S. It's hard to believe. It's more wet than the Pacific Northwest. You can go look that up. I don't forget how many inches of rain Mobile gets every year. but it's one of the wettest places in the United States. It's way up there, you know, and y'all can fact check me on that and go check it out, you know, read about it. Because that's how I found out about it, reading about it. One day, I don't know how I come across it, it blew my mind that Mobile was one of the wettest places in the U.S. I mean, even beating out the Pacific Northwest, you know, Washington and Oregon, where they get a lot of rain. So that's why I think Alabama has a big population of Bigfoot, is because what we have. You've got major river systems all coming into this state. You've got a major mountain range that ends in this state, in part of Mississippi. The temperatures here are not very bad. Yes, we have some rough winters. Yes, we have some hot summers. But we have a long growing season here. Plentiful wildlife. At one time we had, I think, the second biggest deer herd in the U.S. I don't know where we stand at now. Only Texas was above us. I think we're neck and neck with Mississippi now. I don't know where our standing is. That's on white-tailed deer now. That's not the other ones. We still have a lot of forest land. We have a lot of farmland that's converted back to timberland. When these paper companies started entering Alabama in the 50s and 60s, buying up all this land, they went to planting trees back on a lot of farmland. There's some places never been farmed because you just couldn't farm the land. So there's a lot, you know, I believe that's one reason we have a big percentage of boogers, and I think they've always been here. Now, I think their populations have increased. I think back when the land was being farmed a lot, and, you know, of course, we didn't have no big deer population. They was about killed out, and the coons were, and basically the only thing people could hunt back then was squirrel, rabbits, quail, and a few ducks. I think that when Alabama started repopulating the turkeys and the deer, and it gave them back a better food source. I mean, you got to look at the rabbit populations, how they do. When you have good years of rabbit population, you're going to have good predator population with the fox, coyote, because that's what they live off of. When the rabbit population goes down for a few years, their populations go down. It's that cycle, you know. So I think when Alabama really exploded with the deer populations, and with the paper mills buying up all the land, reverting a lot of it back to timber, that was just a habitat and food supply that got built for them. It's just like with us, I think. If we're eating good and living good, we're probably going to be able to reproduce better. That's my mind. I mean, I know I ain't no scientist, ain't no biologist, but I do have some common sense about some things. So that's a possibility that their populations have increased. I mean, I can't prove that. I know with technology, the sightings went up because people can talk to each other. I mean, I can be talking to somebody in another state in, you know, 10 seconds. You know, the internet, but also I think there's some more plays in there with it. And I think there's some other things that play in there with it. So anyway, I just wanted to clear that up about the Appalachian area. You can go pull maps up that will show you the Appalachian regions of the U.S. And it'll show you how wide. And I mean, you get to look at Alabama. Alabama has half of it. I mean, half the state is considered Appalachian. And we do have that. Scottish Irish a lot here in this area. And a lot of them traits they have back up in Tennessee, North Carolina, and Virginia. So with the people, that is. But if you really look at the river systems, where they're draining out of, and all that too, that tells you a lot right there. So it's just a very, very, Alabama's still wild. There's a lot of land with nothing in it. I mean, the county right below me, Coosa County, 3/4 of that county don't have nobody living in it. It's a pretty good sized county. You put it up on Google Maps and look at it, especially the western side. I mean, it ain't hardly nobody lives in it. It's all timberland. I mean, something could live in there easy. I didn't know what that was for a minute. But so that's something to really think about is, you know, we talk about them being in deep, deep woods, but they're right next to us. I mean, I told you earlier in one of the videos about the girl out on the east side of Sylacauga, on the Brickyard Road. You go look that up, and you see how close Brickyard Road is, to Sylacauga. My friend, the one that was him and his two nephews hunting, I mean, he's right there close to that Brickyard Road on Crooked Creek, where he had his encounter. I mean, half a mile from downtown Sylacauga. I've still got one to tell you about Chillisburg, or actually two. Later date, we'll get into those. About, what was seen up there. Right there at downtown Chillisburg. Chillisburg, not a big town. I think population about 4,000 people. It's spread out, but this was right there, right next to a neighborhood. I mean, the lady seen one getting cat food off her back porch one night. So, and of course, law, when I called and talked to them about it, because people were seeing it, of course, they won't say a bunch of kids playing pranks. I don't think a kid was in a Bigfoot costume or gorilla costume going up to that woman's house at 12 o'clock midnight and getting cat food off the back porch. I mean, really, And even when Mr. Tall called and talked to him, they didn't even want to talk to him about it. And he was, ex-law enforcement, pretty high up, when he was in it. So, if I say something in there in these videos that don't sound right, and I'm going to goof up, I'm going to just tell you, I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes. I might get a date wrong. I might tell something wrong, not on purpose. Like I told you, sometimes I have brain fog now, stutter now, mispronounce words. I mean, get words backwards, like Dollar General sometimes, and some other words, So like I said, all this started about 1.5 years ago. So, anyway, I thought I seen something move over yonder toward the okra patch. Of course, in my last video, I told you that we do have something coming up here at the house. It has quietened down in the last week or so. Hadn't heard nothing, noticed nothing. Of course, I've done a bunch of bush hogging out here around where the watermelons was, so the place is getting open back up. I got this big corn patch I got to start pulling. That will open the place back up some. The deer are still coming here some. We've been seeing them some in the daytime. So whatever it is may have moved on for a week or two, may be back. That's what Rebecca thinks. She thinks it comes and goes. She thinks it comes for a week or two and hangs out, and then leave for a week or two. Maybe following a deer. I don't know. I don't know. If you look at Google Maps of my place, I know some of you have, you can see north of me is a big water woods with a railroad and 4 Mile Creek, and it's wooded all the way to the river on 4 Mile Creek. 4 Mile dumps into Tallahatchie Creek. Tallahatchie Creek comes all the way from Rebecca Mountain out in the National Forest. It's pretty much wooded along all the way with farmland and just woods. You can follow that creek all the way back into to Rebecca Mountain where it starts. I've been up there with the headwaters of it coon hunting before. And there's boogers right there too. Jonathan Odom goes right there way a lot. And hopefully when the outings here in October, maybe if some people want to, maybe during the day, we'll get out and ride some area. Maybe at night be able to, break free and go to some different parts and listen maybe. I'd like to do that if possible. I know a lot of people may want to stay around camp, and that's fine. But if a few people want to get out, we might go make some calls. Get up on top of the mountain in a few places, make a few calls or something, see if we can get something. Wish I could have something at Creepy Mountain, but it's going to be hard to do. I can't have no big outing up there no more. I can take people up there, but it'd have to be, a couple at a time. And of course, during deer season, we won't be able to go during the daytime. If we do, we'll have to stay in one spot area. Of course we could go at night, but if we wanted to go up there during the day and walk, we pretty much have to stay in one little area to do it. Because we do have that sign-in system, and during hunting season, you sign out the spot you're hunting. That way it's safety, that courtesy and safety. Just keep that. That's something. I'd love to have another outing up there. We had a very good one in 2008, and had another good one in 2010. Of course, had some good stuff happening that we'll be talking about. So, well, I hope I hadn't forgot anything today. I do want to thank all my old subscribers for hanging in here, and I want to thank all the new people that's come in. I know I had one guy tried to send me an email, and I didn't get it. And of course, he commented back that it didn't go through. So I don't know why it didn't. Best thing to do, if you want to contact me, the easiest thing to do, contact me, would be go to my Facebook and send me a message. I'm easy to find on Facebook. I mean, you'll see this ugly mug. Go send me a message and I'll see it. Then we can talk and go from there. I do have email. I don't know what happened. And you can send a message to Cedar Creek Bottoms too. We have a Facebook page, and you can send a message. Rebecca usually will see it, and then she can relay to me, and I can go in there and look at it. So, I love for you to comment, but if you really need to talk to me about something you got going on in your property, or you want to ask me a question or anything like that, best way would be go to Facebook, send me a message, then we'll go from there. That's the easiest way, probably the fastest. Or send a message to Cedar Creek Bottoms Facebook page. And Rebecca will see it. And a lot of times it'll show up on my phone, because the Cedar Creek Bottoms Facebook is tied in with my Facebook. So a lot of times I'll see the messages. So that's probably the easiest way. So anybody that's trying to contact me here in the last few weeks, try that. That'll probably be the easiest way. Just go to, if you don't have Facebook, then you're going to have to send me an email. And you can go to our, if you can't go to our Facebook page, you won't be able to find it. But do that. Go to Facebook, go to my profile, send me a message. And over time, I'm going to probably be, if you name, a lot of you, I don't know your real name because you're using a YouTube name, which is fine. I mean, so I don't know who to come, I'd subscribe to your Facebook or something. Now on my Facebook, I don't put much about Bigfoot. My Facebook's mainly to keep up with family and friends, which some of them are Bigfoot friends on there. I don't usually use it for Bigfoot. I've thought about it. I typically gonna leave it here on the YouTube. But like I said, please give me comments. Next week, the video should be from the hunting club, and hopefully the next video will be Marsha telling her tale about the one in the trees. Me and Keith learned very quickly these things use trees. I even witnessed that, me and him up at Little Bear Creek in North Alabama, at an outing up there. I seen one climb the tree. Me and Keith both seen him go up the tree and get up there and stand on top of the limb. And then, of course, his mama or daddy was over here on the other side of us screaming, blowing our head off with screaming. And we'll talk about that more down the road, though. That was one of those times that I was ready to pack up and leave. But like I said, if you need to contact me, that's going to be the best way, And then we'll go from there, exchange phone numbers or emails or whatever makes you feel more comfortable. Because if you got a sighting, let me know about it. Because I'll get on here and tell it if you want me to tell it. If you have them on your property and you're having problems with them, I don't know if I can run them off for you, but I can tell you some things that might help make them leave if you don't want them there. I mean, this in here ain't leaving after I'm put cameras up and lights up and everything else. He's still coming around. Or if you just want to talk to somebody about it, I understand that completely. it helps to be able to talk to like-minded people about this, just because it's like anything else, it takes a load off of you that there are more people out there experiencing this, and you're not crazy. I mean, when I first seen that in Lowndes County, I mean, I had to shake my head, and several times asking myself, was this real? And doubting yourself. You do. I mean, because it's human nature, because we've been taught that these things don't exist. That all the scientists and biologists are correct. They're not. I'm going to tell you that right now. They're not. They're just like us. They're guessing. They got their theory. There's some things that come true, but there's some things they're guessing on too. They won't admit that, but they are. They are. And a lot of them already know they're here. They just don't want to admit it. It's going to mess up their agenda or whatever they're doing. I don't know. To me, truth is the best thing. That's what God wants you to do, is tell the truth and be truthful about things. And I think when you are, you don't have much problems. Just like when you're young and you do something and you tell a fib and it gets you in worse trouble and causes you more problems than if it'd been better just go ahead and told your mama, yeah, I done this, and get it over with. You know what I'm saying? Seems to go easier if you tell the truth. I know y'all don't really want to hear no preaching, but I do want to use part of my channel to, I will say this, glorify God, because without Him, it don't matter anyway. And I think we're going to find out in time a lot more about these boogers and some of these other cryptids that's running around. I'm not going to say they exist, but I'm not going to say they're not. Because it'd be possible if a Bigfoot run around, all the rest of them be possible. I hope they're not. I mean, I don't really want to fool with no dog, man. Everything I heard about it, they ain't easy to deal with. And then this other thing they call a rake, or whatever this thing is. I wonder a lot of times if something's got released on the earth, but I don't know. I know a lot of conspiracies about the government playing with stuff, and there's no telling. Anything's possible. I mean, really. I mean, used to I would have thought different. Now anything is actually possible. I mean, really. We don't know as near as much as we think we know. I don't know how much has been hidden from us. I just don't know. I know the church has hidden stuff from people too. I know that. Some of that's coming to light now. Well, I want you to get out and enjoy yourself this weekend. Get out in the woods if you can. Enjoy nature. Don't let these boogers keep you from enjoying the woods. I made my mind up after I seen that, and I wasn't gonna quit going to the woods. Now I watch what I'm doing. I watch my surroundings better. I watch what's going on, pay more attention. But I still go enjoy hunting. I still enjoy fishing, hiking. I need to get back into hiking. It'd do me good to lose some of this gut. I'd like to do some backcountry hiking one of these days, and wouldn't mind, going up in Alaska or Montana somewhere doing some hunting. And I know I'd have to build myself up for that. Need to lose this gut anyway, just to help my health down the road. But anyway, I'm gonna let y'all go and quit rambling on for today. Hopefully next week, be back on the club, video from the club. We'll have some videos on the gardening, some stuff to plant during the winter, because it's time to plant it right now. So in fact, I should have had some up in the ground, because we got a lot of rain coming up this next week. I wish I already had it in the ground, but you can only do what you can do. Like I said, I want to thank all my old subscribers for hanging in, and welcome to all the new subscribers. Comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, comment, like, share, tell other people about this channel. I want it to grow just because I want it to help people. Not an expert on farming, not an expert on Bigfoot, not an expert on nothing. But I do have common sense. I'll tell you what I do know, what works, what don't work. For me, may not work in your area. But I'll tell you what I know and what I've learned over the years. I was real fortunate to grow up in a family of farmers and outdoorsmen that taught me a lot, made me learn it, and then later on I wanted to learn it. So anyway, well, y'all take care. Encourage each other. Of course, we got our campfire this Saturday night, 6 o'clock. If you want, any of y'all want to come, it just ain't just about Bigfoot. It's about encouragement and being social with each other, friendship. It's what we need in this world right now, is more encouragement to each other, not negativity, but more encouragement, more friendship, backing each other up, loving on one of each other, because that's what really matters. All this other stuff don't matter. So y'all have a good weekend. And if any of you do want to try to make the campfire, like I said, send us a comment, let us know you're coming. It ain't nothing special. Ain't nothing special. We supply the water, coffee, tea. But if you like Cokes or juices, something you might want to bring out. We do simple hot dogs, cook your own. We have the hot dogs, we have the sticks. I'll build a fire, you go cook your hot dog. We had one older lady come here, it tickled her to death. She said, I ain't done that in 50 years. So something simple as that. Because one thing this channel is about being more sustainable. I know lately Rebecca's been doing some good canning videos. I hope y'all have enjoyed it and learned something from it. I know a couple people have, because they've commented, and I appreciate you commenting on that. I will be getting into more outdoor stuff with the tractors, the crops, showing you some other things. Later on, we'll have the grist mill running. So a lot coming up for the fall, and plus we're going to have some lives probably later on. Me and her's talking about doing some lives on down the road. So y'all keep watching for stuff, and I think you're going to see some interesting things. Like I said too, I'm going to start doing a little history here and there. I'm going to probably mix it up with the Bigfoot, because like I did today, I done a little geography with you today, just to let somebody know. And I ain't being ugly to her, I just let them know I kind of knew what I was talking about. I think he just misunderstood what I was trying to say, or what I was saying. I think he misunderstood it, and I just want to clear the record that go look at them maps. They all kind of maps out there to show you all that. So map is a friend. I learned that a long time ago. Maps can tell you a lot about land. They can tell you a lot about everything about it. And internet's easy to look at maps now. We ain't even got to go buy one. You can just pull it up, and look at it. You can look at satellites. I can go look at other hunting clubs and see how many green fields they got, and where the roads, where the clubhouse is. I can look at their land. I can see where the water is. It tells you a lot. We got a lot of stuff we can work with now. The night vision, the recordings, we got stuff going on, all these other devices, and we got a lot of stuff now, and people's catching stuff. They're getting thermals, they're getting pictures, they're getting recordings, the stuff's here. It's here. There's no doubt about it. Well, y'all take care. I hope you have a good weekend. Love you all, and take care. Bye-bye. Well, you can't see me, but I didn't ever feel nothing, but that don't never mean nothing. Because my dog stayed down here with me too, so that tells me something. Y'all have a good one.